Hi Petra.
Karyn.
Mark, thank you for your time. Petra, I just want to ask a couple of things about the sessions that we've had. And the first thing I want to know is just if you'd like to let people know, how did we meet?
How did we meet? We met through mutual friends in a very noisy restaurant. You ordered a sticky date pudding. You haven't had one for a long time, and the chef, they said they had none, and so you asked the chef to please make a fresh sauce, and he obliged. So when we met, and I'm saying this because I needed a sign one day if we're doing the right thing, and Mark, first time in his life, ordered a sticky date pudding when I asked for a sign, and half an hour later he ordered a sticky date pudding. And I knew never had one before. So after we met, I saw you were at an expo giving a talk, and I thought, oh well, no, Karyn, I'll go and listen. But I was there very early, and your talk wasn't for another hour or 1.5 hours. So I thought, oh, I know you, I can meet up with you one day. But the urge was so strong when I drove off. I dropped the kids off at teenagers off at shopping centre. I said, I'll see you in 1.5 hours, and I drove all the way back to the expo because I knew I needed to listen to what you were going to say. And it just after the first 5 minutes, I knew what you were doing, what we needed to do.
It's the start of an incredible journey.
Yes, I came home. I told Mark who I met, what you do. Would you like to go and see Karyn? And after I explained to him what you do, he went, can you book me a session, please? And that was.
And I remember the nights you came in to see me. It was quite dark because it was about 7 o'clock at night, and here's this big man walking through the door, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. And we had some amazing experiences over a period of a few weeks and months, actually. So how was it for you?
Life-changing would be a word that comes to mind. I think for not only myself but my family. Major changes needed to happen within my immediate family and extended family, and it's happening, you know. So
we did a lot of work. Fair to say, Mark, that we did a lot of work on historical events and around land, around people, around curses, around situations. But it's like I said to you, when I first sit down with a client, I always go through, it's like a teachings to start off with, because if you can't grasp the concept that there is a court in heaven, that you can go and contest all the wrongdoings in life, then most of humanity have no idea that they actually have a tool there or a facility there that they can actually access. To comprehend that on its own, let alone coming to see me to do that, how did you feel around that?
Well, I think Petra and I are quite fortunate because we've been able to have the one-on-one. You know, like I've gone through changes, but I see at the same time you have. So I count myself very, very lucky to be able to have one-on-one time, because that one-on-one time gave me the opportunity to have a lot of personal, what's the word? You know what do you call it when you say something and then it comes true? What are affirmations? Is that the word?
Yep.
Right. So, because you know, at best I don't come from a religious background myself. I've never been taken to church every day. I've been in, you know, I've had time in church when it's, you know, weddings, funerals, whatever, christenings, but never a religious background, not really. So have been sceptical in the past, and I think that one-on-one time with you and the 30 plus affirmations Like seriously, the amount of stuff that you told me, and some of it I knew was there anyway. They were stories from the past. So for you to be telling me about stuff that is happening in my family and stuff that happened from the past, like I have said to you on occasion, I know that story, but I don't know if it's true or not. Well, for you to be telling me so much about myself and the affirmations, and I was skeptical the first night, and when you said my brother came forward, I kept pushing for more. Rather than being happy with 1 or 2, I got 6. And that sort of made me open my eyes up.
How long ago has your brother passed?
19 months.
And I think his name's Trevor, is that right? He's a cheeky bugger.
Yes, it's him.
He, if I recall, the conversations were more laughter than tears.
Yeah.
Because he certainly, because he turned up in the witness box when we were working, and he certainly had a lot to say.
That's true.
The one thing that Karyn said about my brother, she started laughing when I was crying like I am now. And she says, look, sorry for laughing, I know this is personal, but your brother's got a big truck and trailer, curtain cider, backing up with a whole lot of tissues for you. And so,
he did.
So he knows me well.
I remember that.
Yes. So it's been eye-opening for me. Like I say, 30 affirmations. I have a busy job. One of the things Karyn told me to do was, there's a very strong lady that lives by you. You have to go and buy her some carnations and go around and see her. I had 2 days before I had to hop on a plane, thinking I could get the opportunity to go and get a Bible and some holy water. Yeah, I'll just stop and do that. But the reality is I'm way too busy, and I put work before put personal life too much. So anyway, I got the carnations and went around and saw my cousin, who's the lady, and I was thinking the carnations were her mum's favourite flower but her mum had just passed, so as it turns out, they're her favourite flowers. So she went and got me what I needed so I could hop on the plane. So just one of many affirmations. I mean, I stood there feeling quite goofy, I guess. I've been told to bring you flowers. But for myself and my bloodline, there's been a lot of, what's the word, confrontation. I've been involved in ongoing battles with my family, like cousins and uncles, for the last 5 years. Some of it's led to physical violence. I'm not a violent man, but obviously pushed too far. And I've, through this process, have been able to see the light, I guess, and be uplifted, but have an open heart, and to be able to look at the wrongs that my family, my uncles and cousins have done to my parents and myself, and go to them with an open heart and say, look, I want peace, mate. This is not how we should live. So it's been positive changes in my life, and I don't believe without your help, Karyn, that I would have been able to do that. So I thank you for the opportunity for one-on-one. I could go on all day about affirmations and things that have happened for me.
We did all this when we did the profiling. Like the profiling is, for me, is like the rescue mediumship, is where I'm connecting into the energy. Loved ones turn up in the witness box. We have the judge sitting there, the prosecutor sitting there, and the prosecutor is actually very active in the court case. He causes a lot of challenges because he brings up all the lies and the deceit, so they're still actively in court creating more havoc. So how many stacks of paper did we go through in the declarations?
Oh, a few. Those big pieces of paper. We filled them up times 4.
So like a desk pad piece of paper.
Yeah.
So all of those notes that we do is pure mediumship. So it's pure information that comes from from Jesus, from God, from the angels, and also messages that come in from spirit, which a lot of people in spirituality will understand. Spirit speaks to us because the soul is eternal. But we had some challenging conversations about land, about property, and descriptive information that came through that had such validation with it.
Yes, yes, definitely. There's a lot of darkness being at home around the house. That is, believe it or not, even though there is some members of the family who have tried to curse the house and bless the house. Curse us and curse the house. It always still felt like there was a lot of peace there, but as soon as you walked outside the gate, turmoil within the immediate family, causing fractures not only in my family but within all my cousins. Ended up fracturing into 2 sides, and it became a conflict, an ongoing conflict. So I've decided it's time to step up, because I seem to be in the middle of it, but I am the oldest child of my parents. So I guess it was time, enough's enough.
If you can explain, the effects of the work, how has it affected your work and your personal life?
Well, beforehand, so we can get a picture on what people can sort of understand who I was always a hard-working drainage foreman, and in the past been operations managers in the past and stuff like that. So always hard-working, work a lot of hours. Thought I was a reasonable sort of a guy. I like to give if I can. I like to help if I can. But with the stress that I was always under at work, I used to drink a lot. When I say a lot, I mean, once a week, twice a week, depending on the volume of stress involved. But, one drink leads to 10. But then I can get up and function no problem at all the next day, even if I go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. And get up and go to work and people don't know. And at home, I'm a fortunate man. I've got a lovely wife and child, a boy, and I'm extremely happy, don't get me wrong. But, wives don't like their husbands drinking, and they don't like them working too much, and they don't like them coming home stressed out from work. And I couldn't always leave work behind. Jumping forward to the work that you've done with me and where I'm at today, I'm a different person. I'm still Mark and I'm still me, but I'm happier and more open and a lot more joy in my life and no stress. And I can come home and leave work at home. I'm in a more stressful role now than I've ever been in my lifetime. And things that would get me stressed and grumpy and being too blunt with people, is putting it mildly, and the alcohol I would have consumed, I don't do that anymore. I don't need that. The other day I was having a disaster of a day. It started at 6:30 in the morning when I rolled into the yard. I've got people nutting out at me for various reasons. I've got trucks that were crashed and trailers that were broken, and power lines that were being pulled down, and staff fighting on site, working at a Christian school, abusing each other in the playground.
God, that's good.
So that's the day, and the worse it got, the more I laughed. Now that is not how I deal with stress, not in the past anyway. So on that day, at the end of 115 phone calls, there was still a lot of stress going on. I just kept laughing, and people couldn't understand. Boss, shouldn't you be angry about it? And I said, well, what am I going to do to change it? nothing. There's nothing I can do, mate. We'll just deal with it tomorrow and move on, rather than be like the old Mark and lose his rag. I would have lost it 10 times that day at 10 different staff. Then I have nobody working for me. So, you know what I mean? And then I would have come home and I would have got a 40-ounce bottle of bourbon and I would have sculled that back in 3 or 4 hours and gone to bed and woken up stress-free, but with a hangover. And I live a much more happier life, full of joy, which is God's gift to us. It's our strength that God gives us is joy. And if we can live in joy, we're doing a good thing, because that's where our strengths lie. And I'm fortunate that's where I find myself.
You came to see me at the studio. You obviously, Petra booked you in to see me, but you really didn't know what to expect.
I had no idea what to expect. You know, I've heard of readings before. I mean, my mum's had some, my sister's had some, I know Petra has. Was I sceptical? Probably. But I didn't know what to expect. And, you know, I come and saw you and we prayed, and then, you know, you do your process and get us into the courts of heaven, and it was the information that flowed out of the courtrooms and through you that I wrote down, that I knew this is real. Because the information that I had out in front of me, I went away, and everything that you talked about me and the people that I ended up meeting since those meetings is stuff that all came true. So, for example, here's a story. Like, you talked about a little surfer dude who was in the court, and he was out front and centre, and you asked me if I knew who that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. It was a cousin that I'd lost some years previous. And in my journey, while I was going to deal with the big confrontation and go to court.
That's in life. That's not in the heavens. That's actual physical.
Yeah, physical court.
Yep.
That was part of the process that we did. Remember, we rushed to that point so I could go to court. And one of the things that I did, I went to go and see my auntie Cora and Nanny Cora. She's 90. She's 94 or 91 or something like that. A little bit ill health, and normally her daughter looks after her. But on that particular day, my cousin Caroline was there, and after I saw my auntie, I was sitting down having a chat with cousin Caroline, and she's on her own spiritual journey because Auntie Cora is a priest, or pastor, or minister, whichever, one of those. And she's been involved with our family burials and what have you, some weddings, and anyway. So Carol and I got speaking, and the topic came up of she often wondered, we were talking about heaven, and she wondered what her son looked like now, because she wondered whether her son grew up in heaven. Has he changed what he looks like? And I could tell her, so she could rest at peace, that no. And I explained the journey that I was on. I said, no, your son was one of the first to come out in the heavens of court, and he still looks like a young surfer dude. She was ecstatic.
I do remember that. So it was, he was a cheeky little bugger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that, Mark. It was very humbling for both of us. So actually, I think it took us to our knees just about.
So, you know, the whole process, I talk about affirmations, but for me there was so many, which I probably needed, you know, being a little bit sceptical and not coming from a religious background and, you know, whatever. But, so that process, that's why I say I'm fortunate to have had the one-on-one time, because if I didn't have all these one-on-ones and all these things that pointed to the truth, you know, the Holy Father and Jesus, it may have been different for me anyway. But, you know, another quick story, affirmation. Because of the curses that have been placed on this, I call it home, my mum's family home. Anyway, it's a long story, but on the journey I had to go back there, right? And I knew I was going to be there at 2 o'clock, or between 2 and 3 in the morning, in the dark. And you said to me that God is with you, and look into the sky. Now, as I flew to Tauranga from Christchurch, and as I drove from a Portiki down the coast road to a place called Te Araroa, which is where I'm from, it was a beautiful moonlit night, and once I started on the coast road, it started to get cloudy, and when I was about half an hour, 40 minutes out, it closed in. It was a full moon. It closed in, you couldn't see the full moon, and then the odd shower started happening, and then I got home, and it was dark, and you couldn't see a star in the sky, and I'm standing there looking in the sky, waiting for a sign. But the thing was, Karyn, you told me to go through the front door, and I had a dilemma, because the front door has never been used, and there's two places. There's the 2-bedroom sleep out at the back, or the main house, but they're very close together. So I came round and stood between the two houses, not knowing which door to go through. So I stood outside and started praying for about 10 minutes, not knowing where to go. But my brother and my father, you know, before we buried them, we had them at home, and they were in the sleep out. So as I just reached out and grabbed the front door to the sleep out, it's the main door that everybody uses, it's a ranch slider, to go in there, almost directly above me, slightly to the right, the clouds opened, and I couldn't see, I didn't know it was a full moon in that environment. It was so dark. The full moon came through for like a minute, and it just illuminated the whole place as I touched the door handle. So to me, and that was to say that God was with me, and He was going to help me with the curses. And He was there. So the work has been invaluable to me, and I believe my bloodline. And we're in a process of peace at the moment. I mean, well, I've reached out, I've got the olive branch out there, and I've shaken the enemy's hands. And, you know, one of the things, could never see Abraham. He had a dark mask, you know. I could see him for the first time in 5 years. And I've reached out with an olive branch and gave him a Bible and said, this is my true intent. And we'll see how we go. But I've made a start, and that's not that long ago. So he's hoping and praying that we can make this happen. But yeah, no, God definitely was with me, because would I have had the confidence to go to the boundaries and the corners of the house and use holy water and say a prayer? Probably no. Not before now. But, you know, that sign, because the thing is, the moon only came through for a minute, and then it was gone. It was darkness again. And I stayed up till 5 in the morning speaking with my niece, kept looking out the window for the signs of the moon, nothing. So how did it know to come out when I'm standing and out the back in the middle of the two whares, waiting, praying, which door? And as soon as I reach out to touch the handle, boom. You know, that's strong. It said a lot to me, because, you know, I needed somebody's strength to get through the journey that I have started, and it's not finished, but I need you know, the Lord's help to get through this, and as He said, He'd be by my side, and we will lift these curses and lift all the curses, which we have done. I believe I've asked how people feel back there. We've got and everybody goes, he just loves it. So it's been a long journey. It's not over yet, Karyn, but like I say, for me, the big thing has been we sat down, we went into the courtroom, and all the evidence and messages that came through you that I got to write down, they weren't all bad. Some of it was about the stuff that was going to happen. And like I say, I haven't really counted up the number of affirmations that came off those 2 bits of paper, three bits of paper. I don't know what that number would be, but it's definitely 20 plus. 20 plus. So I'm convinced. Well, I'm not convinced, I believe. So what you do is valuable. And I say to anybody out there, if you have the opportunity to spend time with Karyn and open your heart to Jesus and Karyn and spend time in the courts, you can find out what they've got against you, get it cleared, and receive what God promised to you. And that's what I believe, and here I am. I feel like I'm a better person. So, joy is a powerful thing.
Petra, Mark came along, did his session, and then I kept encouraging him to say it was your turn to come on, because that's how you'd organised it. So we're still in the process together of working through the courts of heaven with you. So maybe it'd be a good idea to explain how it's been for you, because we've still got a couple more sessions to finish. So you're meeting a sandwich at the moment.
Yes. Lovely meetups. So I knew I needed to come as well, because life's always stopped me from achieving what I wanted to. I actually sometimes had a dream, I'm going to do this now, and I'll get ready, and then all of a sudden 5-6 weeks later I remembered, I was going to do this. I was going to get a new job, and I started my new job CV, and I never finished it, and I never looked for a job. I totally forgot. Whenever I studied music, the flute, and I got so far, but I never reached the top. Something stopped me. Every time I tried to achieve something, before I reached in, it just, like I get cut, my legs get cut off, or my brain freeze. Don't remember what I wanted to do. So I knew it was really bad last year. I knew I needed to do something. So one of the biggest things, and I've got my voice back, my feet were on the altar, and I've got my voice back, and I'm ready to put people in their place and to defend myself, to defend my decisions, what I say. And I'm already waiting for someone to speak out of turn, and I've never done that before. It's always been, that's their problem, not mine.
So when you first found out about that, things can sit on, an altar can be erected in your name, kind of thing. How did you feel when I said that to you?
I was absolutely stunned. That and what caused it? That it was even people or spirits that didn't even know me just decided, oops, there she goes, I can use her, I can do that to her. And how it can stop someone from getting ahead, being who they are. And for example, my feet on the altar, and it's caused so many problems in my life. And getting rid of them, or giving them back to me, has already changed me. I was just going to say who I am. Yes, I'm getting to know who I am. One session we had where you cleared a body off me, an entity off me. While you were clearing it, and I was repeating what you were saying to clear it, it came to me all of a sudden. I thought, who am I? As if at that moment it cleared and I was me, my original me, the one I'm supposed to be, but I didn't know me. So
when
it'll
we
be
did,
interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks.
like I said, so it's interesting. How old were you when we worked out where that entity had actually sort of climbed into your energy field?
My early 20s. Yeah.
So a good 30 years.
Yeah.
Somebody else has been riding your wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, blocking
Yes.
you, stopping you.
Yeah. That's quite sad in a way. I always try to believe that whatever happens is a lesson for the future, but to think that it stopped me for so long, and I'm so grateful I decided to do something, and I'm so grateful that we met you at the right time.
And the next session we do, I have no idea where we're going to end up with that one, but it's like every single one, it's just whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's what the energy is on the day.
But also the work that you do is not just me, because you clear the bloodline of me and my family. It can affect my siblings and my cousins, and maybe even some of my aunties that are still around. And especially having help my siblings and my cousins. They won't know. My brother and sister know, or not everything. I'm waiting to see what happens to them.
Yeah.
I've told one, but not the other,
Yeah.
so they can see and believe. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Yeah.
So you understand, an altar, that the way I work with the altars is one of the 9 different parts of the whole process. So an altar can be erected for any reason in anyone's name in the energy field. So when we found your feet being placed on an altar, and the understanding of that, and the evidence of going why it's there. I gave you the evidence of this is what I see, and this is what's on that altar. So it has to. If it doesn't have evidence, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So when you learnt and accepted the fact that I understood that your feet were sitting on an altar, what did that change? How did that help you?
So the feet on the altar stopped me from standing up for myself. And it stemmed from an argument I had, not an argument, but I tried to tell this lady the truth, and she just didn't understand and kept on telling me I was wrong. Until the end I gave up, and that was enough for them probably to put my feet on the altar to stop me. And I've never, when someone said it's green and I could see it was red, I would just say, oh yeah, okay. But now, the past few weeks, I would like to correct everyone and prove that it is green, not yellow, which before I didn't. It stopped me from standing up and telling people that I am who I am, and it is the way I say it is, because I saw it, I felt it, I smelt it that way. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove that it is right for me. Yeah, and it has already made a difference. The quiet, I was always quiet.
Not even
Petra never argued. No.
What does that mean for me?
I warned him when I came home. I said, Mark, watch out. Yeah.
And the other thing is about your sleeping patterns.
Yes. I've had nightmares for as long as I can remember, and wake up numerous times during the night. Not for long. I can go back to sleep quite quickly, but always disrupted sleep. And I would wake up exhausted because my nightmares were I was being chased. I couldn't open my eyes when I needed to cross a road. When I needed to get off a train, I would pack my stuff, but there would be always more, and I could never pack everything to get off the train in time. I had huge horses chase me, huge ants. No, they didn't chase anyone else, just me. I've had invisible men follow me, and I never knew why until you discovered why and when it happened. And so you lifted that person off me 2-3 days ago. I came home and I fell asleep 4 o'clock in the afternoon, woke up 5 o'clock the next morning. I only woke up to go from the couch to the bed, otherwise I slept through. And last night I woke up a few times, but no nightmares, no frustrations during the sleep. So fingers crossed, that's it. That's it. And if I can sleep through the nights and wake up refreshed rather than exhausted, what's it called? Life's my oyster. Yep, I'll be able to do what I always wanted to do, instead of always trying to always complain I'm tired. Shall we go and do something? No, I'm too tired. Yep, no more. Yeah.
Evidence is a crazy thing, isn't it?
It's yeah.
Without evidence, it means nothing.
No.
And that's how I live with my work completely.
Yeah.
It has to be delivered with meaningful evidence.
Yeah.
And sometimes the evidence is so far back that we can't we've got to do research around it in general. So, yeah. Earlier you were talking about court. So just to clarify, the courts of heaven, I don't work in the court system on earth. I work in the heavenly realm with the judge and everything. So when you came to see me, you actually had a pending court case.
Yes, in Ruatoria in New Zealand, yeah.
I know Ruatoria.
Yeah.
Of all places. And that's housed in what?
Actually, there is a courtroom there.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the confrontations that's been going on, and like I did say, it got physical, they moved us to, I think it was council chambers or a library or something across the road from the cop shop. Because there was, fears that it would get physical again, and I believe it probably would have if I hadn't changed. So, but yeah, no, that's here on earth, and we're still going through that process. I'll be back in court. I'm waiting for a court date. And my lawyer to get back to me. But, two totally different realms, like the court process on earth, it moves way too slowly. Whereas, the time that we've had has been, a few weeks or a month or whatever, and, it's spanned my lifetime, and some of the things that came out were stories from my past that I've heard, and for you to bring them up confirms that those things happened. And they were never ever confirmed to any of us. It was just a story from the past. Mm-hmm. So 2 different processes, 2 different outcomes. I mean, you may win or lose in court, but if you go to the courts of heaven with an open mind and an open heart, you will win no matter what. Mm-hmm. Big difference.
Ka pai.
Yeah.
The courts of heavens aren't all as serious as the earth ones, because the angels, for me, have a sense of humour. But more than that, the spirit witnesses or that sit in the witness box, so far now that have passed, souls that have passed, the eternal aspect of us, have such wicked sense of humour. I get myself into trouble.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, we did have one particular occasion that maybe it was the other side trying to block us, but we spent more time laughing and listening to other people and getting pulled off track for whatever reason. And then, at the end of it all, when we're waiting for a verdict, you got told off. And I felt partly responsible for that, because I was talking about stuff that wasn't quite relevant at the time. But, so there is a procedure that you need to follow.
Yes.
And they're not shy in telling her off.
For real. And I guess the other part of it, because people can't see, and I'm busy translating 10 different languages and putting it all into...
And 100 voices at the same time.
Yeah, and images and proposals of marriage, and, also Spirit quite often asks me if they want to marry me. It's quite funny. I keep telling the silly buggers, you're dead. I'm not. But when we go into the courts, the one really thing I like people to understand is that people don't understand that there is a devil and there is a Satan and there is a dark energy. And I really like to express to people, he has no power over us once you get into that courtroom. Absolutely no power. And that's the beautiful part of this whole process. He can throw every lie, every deceit, everything he wants to at us. It doesn't matter what he throws. The spirit witnesses are super intelligent because I've lived on earth.
And
He may walk the earth plane, and he may walk with his demons and his armies, but there's no combat for the laughter that whānau can bring, and the heart that they can bring. And the judge sees that, and the defence lawyer sees that, and the Holy Spirit sees that, and that's the fun part of it. You remember at the end, the judge asked me to ask you, what did you have to do? Do you remember?
Well, there's a number of things I got asked. Which particular one?
This is where they asked you to take a knee.
Right, yes. I don't see myself in that role, so it's difficult to say it, but they mind you, I mean, I'm starting to get called koro by, and have done in recent past from people, but to be a kaumātua. I still don't see myself in that role, but if that's what gets bestowed upon me, great, because one of the things which I hold dearly is through this whole process, I've realised that a number of people who are living right now, I can reach out to them and help them. And that's really what I want to do. Because they're in dark places and they don't even know it.
No.
You know, and through this process and my eyes being opened up, I can reach out and help them.
You know, the most humbling part of this work, Mark, is the fact is that I literally, in front of me, I see the facial features of people change. I see the energy change, but it's the heart and it's the accolades in the heavens that actually matter. As I do this, I know that there are mediums around the world that speak to spirit all the time, and there's loads of people go, but how come my aunt or my granddad or my sister or my brother, they never turn up? There's reasons for that. There's reasons for that. So when you release the energy that you've both released into your bloodline, it's like it's putting the Ghostbusters down your blood, they can't all the way down. They come out the other end somewhere along the line. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah, very powerful stuff, and like
powerful, funny.
Powerful, yeah. It's been a comedy for sure. Partly that's my brother's fault. He's up there, but he was the laughter of our family. So for you to be picking up on that and for him to be joking with you and laughing at me, he'd be loving it. He'd be loving it. So it's real and it's powerful, and get yourself some.